All right. Okay, next, special guests, Economic Development Commission, ARPA Small Business Grant Program. Town Manager Ellen Zoppo, please.
Yes, tonight we have with us the chairperson of the Economic Development Commission, Marion Turner, and members of her commission. They have been working for the last few months to create parameters for the town of Enfield in order to offer the small business development assistance that you approved through the budget through the ARPA funds. So I know that Councilman Santinella has been part of that group, but tonight they're here to present to the town council so that you can see the product of the work that they're proposing. And from here, they will tell you how they plan to roll this out to the business community. So I would encourage you to invite the chairperson to come forward so she can make remarks to the council.
Okay, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay,
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to have one of my commissioners join me, Rich Stroney.
Okay, great. Thank you. Rich?
Good evening, councilors. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you this evening regarding the ARPA grant program. ARPA stands for the American Rescue Plan Act. As the town manager has stated, the federal government has awarded the town of Enfield money to encourage and support our local businesses. The Economic Development Commission was tasked by the town manager, with your blessing, with developing a program to award the funds and use those federal dollars. First, I'd like to thank my commissioners, Phil Kober, Marilyn Crosati, Rich Stroney, Gretchen Pfeiffer Hall, Virginia Higley, Steve Ragnone, Kelly Davis, along with our liaison counselor, John Santinella, our office staff, Nelson Torricio and Christy Koistinen, all played vital roles in developing the program and the idea for the final work product that we're going to put in front of you this evening. We are here to ask for your suggestions and to give us more guidance. A brief overview of what the ARPA grant is about. The Town of Enfield ARPA Small Business Grant Program has been established to provide limited, one-time, direct financial assistance to eligible businesses in Enfield. These funds will be used to assist businesses recovering from the pandemic by enhancing their businesses with a future project. It is not to pay or reimburse them for a previous project or safety measures during the pandemic, but they would, this program does talk about them having been harmed by the pandemic. It is for a future upgrade, a project, or an enhancement. In our proposal, we invite businesses that have no more than 500 employees to participate. They must be a for-profit business, meaning sole proprietor, partnership, LLC, or corporation. The company must be independently owned and operated and cannot be corporately owned franchise. We have also excluded residential real estate investors, elected officials, and your immediate family. In our application, we have suggested grants from $10,000 to $50,000, but we'd like to make a minor change from what was put in front of you. We would like it to just say grants up to $50,000. We do not want to stop someone who may only need a small amount of money for a facade upgrade versus what we had originally stated in our application. So we would like to make that change. After thinking about it, we will move on. We want the application to give clear and specific use of the grant funds. So the applicant has to tell us what they're going to do with them, demonstrate how the funds will be used for this new project, what value it'll add to the community and to their business, the desirability or attractiveness to the community and to their business. The business must be current on their federal, state, and local taxes, and they cannot have liens or judgments or be outstanding on a mortgage or a rent. We expect the applicant will supply supporting documents about their project, such as the description, a budget, quotes, layouts, so we can better understand what their needs are and how they plan to use the money once it's awarded, if it's awarded. They will be told that they must give a written synopsis 6 months afterwards if their project is completed. If it is not completed in that 6-month window, they will have to then provide, where are you with it? And they will have to continue with that 6-month narrative until the project is completed. The applicant must get required permits that are required by the town. The applicant will have a window to complete the project. I don't have the exact date in front of me, but I know it could go to 23, I believe. Town manager, thank you. We suggest to the council to open the application process on October 1st and let it run until November 18th. Our reason for that, we want to take the month of September if you have no changes or minor changes, so that we can go out and start proposing it and talk about it to the public in other ways. And those other ways would be to advertise the grant on Facebook, to post it on the town's website, to make presentations to the chamber, for example, or the Rotary Club or any other place, and maybe even do a little door-to-door with some of our friendly business owners. After the applications are received, the Economic Development Commission will review the applications and send our recommendations back to you for final approval. We have not developed our matrix yet. That is something that will be put on the table at our next meeting, and we will have a different ways where people can, that we will look at these grants and how they'll be the best use of the funds. We are not here to pay someone's debts. We are not here to pay for something they already did. We are looking for these funds to be something forward, something that'll benefit them that they couldn't get done because the pandemic was a problem and set them back, but something that will also be a benefit for the town, and it could be a facade upgrade. I'm just throwing that out there. So tonight, you've already received our application that our office staff has put together. It will be electronic, but they will have to print it out and sign it. We also have our grant guidelines, which you may have some comments or questions about. We also, at this point, even though this is still preliminary, we have a business grant program agreement that we have already drafted to kind of keep things moving along. So this evening, we're just here to answer any of your questions and see how we can move forward.
Thank you, Marianne. I have to say that your commission has done a fantastic job with this.
Thank you.
I'm very impressed with everything that you have done with this. This is very clear, concise. And thank you for clarifying right at the end about not here to pay for somebody's debt.
No, we're not.
Okay.
That's not
All
the
right.
point.
So thank you for that clarification.
And it's not our, Mayor, it's not our reason. The guidelines are very specific. It's not for that.
Right.
So we, just a little blurb, we did not make this up in a vacuum. We actually looked at many other towns, up even including Springfield, and brought all their documents together, and we kind of were able to take advantage of the best scenario. And then my team were great, as we had numerous meetings, and we really picked it apart and kind of gave you a streamlined application.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. One thing that really stands out to me, is that businesses in good standing. Those are the businesses that, are affected by the pandemic, and they're the ones that are going to benefit from that. So, this is really very concise, and thank you for your time and effort. Rich, thank you also. I'm just going to open up a couple of questions. Councilor Santinella.
I'm also going to add my thanks and my appreciation to the both of you and to the rest of the commission. The town manager came to us, and said she had this project, and I am really grateful that you took this on. You did, Marianne, you came with stacks of papers and examples, and we went through them, and I think we ended up in a really great place. And I just want to echo the mayor's gratitude, and I really enjoyed working on this project with all of you, and I think we have some other things that we might be working on together after this. So thank you very much.
I appreciate that. The economic development team is looking to you to give us more projects. I don't think you have many people who put their hand up and say, let me work for free and let us give you good work product. That's our goal, and I have a great team. Thank you.
Councilor Mangini, go ahead.
I just wanted to say thank you. This is very, very well put together. Great job to you and your team, and very impressive.
Thank you.
So, again, thanks for your hard work.
Councilor Ludwig.
So a couple suggestions, and you hear about not paying debt, but is the priority for businesses that were open? So I would just like to see from March 2020 to March 2022. Again, they did take on debt for whatever reason, and they may not be able to, I'm not saying you pay their debt, but these loans will help them do some of the facade work. I'd like to see those companies in town that qualify get sort of the first come, so to speak, where, again, those businesses that were open may have had to been scuttled during the debt period, had to shut down a little bit, qualify for the under 500, whatever the criteria you have is fine. But I'd really like to see them get the priority, because this is open to, like, if a business wanted to open up tomorrow and qualify, they could apply for this, correct?
They could apply, but part of our matrix project that we will put together and will put in front of you, per the directions and guidelines whereby it specifically states that we need to work with existing businesses that were in business during that time, right? And there was a window, so we are taking that into consideration, but we do not want to stop other companies from coming forward.
No, I'm not saying,
to
but
it.
I'd like to see them get first shot at it.
Well, we don't want to say those words exactly. We want them to put together a program that will benefit the town, and that we're not going to favoritism in it, but we will. One of the things we did ask our office staff is, when we get the applications, we would like to have them blinded and just give us the information, and if they follow the rules we've asked in front of them, they're going to move forward. They will probably put in it how long, because that's one of our questions. How long have you been a business in Enfield? That will be part of our matrix.
So-
Sorry.
So, no, sorry, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Thompsonville is in a certain type of district. I'm trying to remember the exact name.
Qualified census tract.
Yes, thank you. And we have to look at that area more specifically. So we will be taking all that into consideration.
So I'm not arguing with the debt, but what if a company had to close during that period for whatever reason, and they're looking to open again? Not that they would use that money for debt, but then could they qualify? They could do this, right?
Yes.
Even though they're not open currently, but they were open during that period and they had to close for whatever reason.
Right, but you're saying the same thing. We're
Right, but I
agreeing.
mean, but do they get-
If they were coming back, and because we even say in here that you could be opening a business, they're going to tell us, we were here in this window, we closed because of X, we're coming back because of Y. And as long as they can give us a clear what they're going to use the money for and how it's going to benefit Enfield as a whole, maybe you're going to add employees, you're open your doors again. We're completely going to embrace it. So we hear you. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I just want to highlight we have the time period where we're accepting applications. So it's that, month and a half or so that we're taking the applications for. And we're not going to review applications until that time closes, for the reason of now we can see what we have for a need in town and provide as much money to as much businesses as we can that meet the criteria. We've intentionally left the application relatively simple, and I'll use the word vague. I don't mean that as a negative, but vague, so that they can tell us what the need is without us giving them too much direction. That way, they can justify what they're trying to do, whatever that might be. To your point, maybe they need to reopen and they need some funds to do that.
Right.
That's an excellent opportunity for a business, whereas others want to invest so that they can enhance what they're doing in town.
Perfect. Thank you.
Right, and that's the rationale for the kind of the approach we took with this.
No, I agree with that. I mean, but for me, the ARPA money is to help businesses that were struggling during the pandemic. That's why I appreciate the answer. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Scala.
Thank you. And again, I echo my gratitude and thanks for all your hard work on this. So I'm looking at the application on the second page when you turn it over. So you do ask for them, a potential applicant, to describe or tell you if they've received any other funding. Are you going to ask, or can we ask, or has it been discussed to ask for documentation and exactly how much that they received in other funding, PPEs, and you listed them there. Is that going to be documentation that they have to provide?
We actually talked about it in great length, and we don't really want to penalize them if they took advantage of other resources during the time. So we do ask it, but we are not going to ask them to give us documents to prove it. Is that what you mean?
Sure. So on one instance, if they say yes, are they going to have to prove how much they got or didn't get? And if they answer no, are you going to go on I'm assuming they're listed on some federal website, are you going to go and make sure that that's an accurate answer?
They are listed on a federal website, but also I think what we're looking at here is having them acknowledge they received the funds. For example, my own business, I had PPP money, and I took advantage of the EIDL loan. Those were more to address what Councilor Ludwig had talked about, which was the existing expenses or some of the forward-looking stuff at the time. This is meant to say, okay, from today forward, what is it you need to expand or enhance what you're doing in town? So it's there. We're trying to keep it less data intensive for both the staff and for us in our evaluation. There is a site that we can go and validate PPP money and EIDL loan, but I don't think we wanted to get into that level of detail for this.
Because we didn't want it to look like we were going to penalize you if you got it. Or let's say someone got really big bucks. There could be someone who never took advantage of it at all, just didn't do it. A small business owner could be one or two people, and maybe they needed to upgrade their computer system but couldn't do it because the pandemic they lost their clients. And I'm not taking this application because my business has closed, but that's exactly what happened to me. I needed to upgrade my hardware, and I just closed my business because after the pandemic, it put me out of business.
So I guess I'm not trying to penalize them either way, but if
just
it's
wanna
on this
know?
application, it's going to be, I guess, a factor or something that you will be looking at. So it's going to determine on some level what they can or
Those are the
cannot or will or will not get.
Commissioner Turner was talking about, which is coming up with the evaluation criteria of how we allocate the funds and how much. And that's something that we do intend to bring back to you once we sit and say, okay, you're good with this. Now the next phase would be, what's the evaluation criteria? That's the matrix she was referring to say, how much of a factor is that going to be? And if we determine through feedback from you that having the documentation is important or understanding the amount, we can certainly build that in. But again, is that a decision point that we'll need the data from to decide for this amount of funds? Again, limiting up to 50,000, I
Right.
think we're in a good position.
Valid point, and I actually just really appreciate hearing that you guys had really discussed this at length and said, how much do we really want to get into the
Weeds a
fine
little.
details? I get it. So I
Our
appreciate
really
it.
big, long game with this is when we started evaluating all the other towns that had done this work, they were being a little bit too nitpicky, and we were actually taking a different step. We weren't trying to get them to fix sneeze guards and that stuff. We want to give them a breather and say, what do you need to do to move forward? What can we do to help you get more employees or bring in more customers? What did you need? Because those things that happened back then were very specific. We want to give them an opportunity. So my real question to you, Councilman, do you think we need to keep this? And then I'd have to turn to the town manager because it's there are some guidelines we have to follow. Do you think this information is necessary to be here at all? Or do you want to leave it here and just say, let's see what it's just for kind of interest?
I mean, I don't want to be the one that's the end-all, say-all. I don't know if it's required. That's not a question for
Right.
me. I think it's good to have.
Okay.
And I appreciate, again, the fact that you guys have had a discussion around it. I don't think, like you, that it should be the end-all, say-all. So if they checked the yes box, it doesn't automatically go in the no pile.
And
It is
we
a
agree.
factor that you're going to look at, as well as all of these other factors when determining what your recommendation is to the council, and then we ultimately decide.
What I
yes or
would
no.
be of help if you'd work through your council with John Santinella, if you have some ideas that you would like to see in the matrix, very specifically, please share them with him so he can get them back to us so we can give you the next step, and then we can hash through it. I'd also look to the town manager for guidance on this to make sure that we don't leave something out that we need to absolutely per the government's rules.
Great, thank you. Any other questions? Well, Thank you very much for your presentation.
If you let us know, we'll keep moving.
Keep moving. That's awesome.